white farmers are outraged that black people do not want to work on their farms.
They don't want to come out here and work in this extreme conditions, 100+ degree temperatures, dust, hard work.
What if you paid them more?
It doesn't matter. We pay some of the highest wages for farm workers in the nation, right here in California, and they won't come out. In California, we grow about 50% of the fruits and vegetables and nuts for the country. And any shortage of food like that is going to impact everybody in the nation, because not only will food be less available, it'll be more expensive.
Manuel Cunha Jr. runs the Nice Farmers League, a trade organization representing farmers and farm workers in the Fresno area. He says Trump's promise to deport all undocumented migrants would disrupt the entire country.
If you took away my workforce, you wouldn't eat. If you go into the San Joaquin Valley and you start doing what you're saying, it's over. The country will stop. It'll literally stop because the food system won't move.
And like Joe Del Bosque, he insists these undocumented farm workers are not taking jobs that would otherwise go to American citizens.
I don't care what you pay them. I don't care if you pay them $26 an hour. It ain't going to happen. They're not going to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, drive to the field, and pick fruit.
In my mind, I'm thinking they were hearing Trump says the black people are going to replace all those immigrants out in the fields and on the farms and all of that.
I get the question all the time, why don't I hire Americans? Why do we bring H-2A workers to work on our farm here in Idaho and in Oregon? The simple answer is we can't get the workers. But how do we make sure that we're not taking jobs from American citizens? What is it we do to protect those people? And what is the net cost to us as farmers when we're done? So first of all, we have to run radio ads. We have to put print ads. We have to let people know the jobs that we have available, because we have to make sure that the folks that we bring from Mexico aren't taking a job from American. But you know what? No American ever calls. No American ever shows up. When we bring H-2A workers, it actually costs us more, probably 20 to 25% more. It's a penalty that we have to pay. They call it AWAR, Adverse Effect Wage Rate, okay? The AWAR means that we have to pay a 20% tariff or penalty for bringing people from outside of the country because they don't want us to do that. So if you see a farmer using ag workers, H-2A workers, just know that they're paying a penalty for doing so. A penalty to such a degree that they would be more than happy to have American workers if they could get them. That's why we are so grateful for the guys that are willing to come and do the work here on the farm. We can't do this without them. And we can't do this with people in our local communities a lot of the time, because when we ask, they don't come. So we're extremely grateful, always, for the effort and the time and the willingness for our H-2A workers and what they do on our farm.
So they really want black folks to pick up cotton again just because they're deporting immigrants? Is that really what they want? It's not gonna happen. During his campaign speeches, Trump kept bringing up black jobs. He talked about immigrants taking jobs that were supposed to go to black Americans. Now, think about that. What he really meant was get rid of immigrants and black folks will take those low-paying jobs instead. But here is the thing. The logic is outdated. The stereotype is dead. Trump and his supporters thought that once they deport immigrants, especially the ones working on farms or in low-wage labor, black people would come running to pick up the slack. But what they didn't realize is that today's black America is not the same as what they kept imagining. Black folks are now educated. They've got degrees. They are doctors, pharmacists, managers, teachers, entrepreneurs. They're not about line up for $11 an hour farm work under harsh conditions, just because Trump thinks they should. And here's where it gets ironic. Some of these very same farmers who backed Trump, they're the ones now struggling to find workers. They thought deporting immigrants would free up jobs for black folks. But black folks aren't going. They want that this would happen, and here we are. So I pulled together a bunch of TikTok clips and videos that break this whole thing down, people talking about what's happening now and what's coming next. Watch them closely, and when the clips are done, I'll be back to unpack it all and help us to understand the bigger picture behind this mess. Shout out and credits to all original creators whose videos are featured in this video. Let's get into it.
They're basically offering $11 an hour to pick blueberries, 9 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, from May to July in Louisiana heat. Now, I never heard of Laranger, so I decided to look it up real quick. So here's some info. And just so you know, my source is this website called places.us.com. So anyway, livability is a C minus. Population is less than 6,000. Demographics is almost 91% white, followed by Black, then Hispanic, then Indian, then Asian, and pretty much zero Hawaiian. I saw that they voted Republican in 2020, but it probably doesn't take a genius to guess how they voted in 2024. So that's just to give you a little info about the town. So anyway, back to what I was saying. So $11 an hour is what they're offering. Full-time, 7 days a week, 9 to 10 hours a day. Now, according to salary.com, Louisiana's minimum wage is $7.25 an hour. So this is a bump. But let's be real. Now, for some people, they might say, oh, it's a job. Go work it. It's a job. But it's not a job, you know. It's more like a sentence. And then when you look at who they expect to take these jobs, you don't have to guess. It's a page straight out of history. Black folks, migrant workers, you know, the ones who are currently facing deportation right now. Vulnerable communities getting used for back-breaking labor for pennies. But people are saying this is what they voted for.
Let's see how many people from America is going to take the spot and finish the job as fast as they would. I get it, we have illegals, but a lot of them are here to work and better their lives. They just left their wives and all this other stuff and their kids to be deported. Let them people work.
I'm definitely a conservative, but I have not agreed with many on my side of the aisle regarding immigration because I live it every day. Without these immigrants here, without that workforce, there's so many things that we wouldn't have that we take for granted every single day. Without these people, we wouldn't function. And that's the truth. It's not fair for us as a country to continue, and this is both parties, we can't continue to ignore this problem and not come to a resolution. It's ridiculous. I'm a conservative. I believe in the Farm Worker Modernization Act. I believe in immigration and a path to legal citizenship. These folks that come, those that are documented or not, are coming here to improve their life. They're coming here to change the trajectory and the future for their children.
So the US farming industry is facing even more challenges, and I wouldn't want to be a farmer right now in the United States. They are currently experiencing a massive national labor shortage. Coast to coast, there are currently 2.4 million jobs that are being unfilled in American farms. This is leading obviously to a loss of profits for the farms themselves, but also it leads to supply chain issues of actually getting the product onto the shelves finally for the consumer. This information comes from the American Farm Bureau Federation. My name is Nick. I'd love you guys to let me know what you think about this in the comments. Of course, farming is something quite close to Donald Trump's heart, but so far it is not working out for him in his presidency one bit. Let me know what you think. Give me a follow.
44% of farm workers in the United States today do not have green cards and are working illegally. More than 50% of the farm workers in New York State are working illegally. United States farms contribute over $1 trillion to the U.S. economy. You want to know the fastest way to a recession and everybody eating canned tuna and Chips Ahoy cookies? Deport all the undocumented immigrants, including half the farm workers in the United States.
About Acre Trader now? You didn't know Acre Trader is a company that invests in farms that are failing. And considering that most of our farms are going to be failing soon because they're going to lose their subsidies from the federal government, it's interesting that the number one donor into this company is none other than J.D. Vance. Isn't that weird? Basically, Acre Trader allows private investors to invest in failing farms and buy up the land together as a team, you know? Get together with your buddies. And good old J.D. Vance, yep, he heavily invested in this Acre Trader. I'm sure pulling the federal funds away from farmers doesn't have anything to do with that. That would be crazy, right? Like, why would the vice president invest in a company who was going to spend money to grab up farmland and take away their federal farming money so that way they could lose their farms. That would not. Come on, guys. Don't be ridiculous.
Now that we got all these South African farmers here, there's plenty of jobs for them here on the Alabama farms. Yes, sir. Because when Trump sent ICE down here, they deported all the farm help faster than a whiskey bottle at a divorce party. Sure did. Ain't no excuse for them not to be working. There's plenty of jobs out there. They could just walk onto a farm and start that same day. You ain't lying about that. Just walk on up and say, I'm one of them South African farmers. They'll put you on a tractor and get you to plowing. You ain't got to worry about no genocide here. All you got to worry about is the pesticides you put on your crops. You're right about that, brother. And you ain't got to worry about no lions and elephants and hyenas getting on your farm like they do out there.
I was saying, why would you purposely go to get rid of your workforce and not have a backup plan for the people that you're getting rid of, especially if your business is relying on that workforce? Your hatred can't be that blinding and that overwhelming that you can't think about your bottom line, especially when it comes to your businesses. Some of these farms have been in those people's families for over 300 years. You can't tell me you did not think about who is going to come in and replace these vital workers for your survival. One thing I do keep thinking back on is Trump kept saying during this campaign that the illegals were here stealing the blacks' jobs. He just kept harping on the black jobs, and everybody was like, what the hell is a black job? Well, this is just my perspective, or it's just my thought. I'm thinking that the Virginians and all the rest of the people who were dependent on illegal immigrants for their labor, they kept hearing Trump saying that the black people jobs were being taken. I'm thinking in their minds, they were hearing Trump saying the black people are going to come back to those jobs. In my mind, I'm thinking they were hearing Trump says the black people are going to replace all those immigrants out in the fields and on the farms and all of that. I'm thinking that's what they were hearing. That's why they weren't messed up about voting to get rid of their illegal immigrants. They were thinking that the black people were going to step up and take those jobs back because Trump kept saying these illegal immigrants are stealing the blacks' jobs. And therefore, in their mind, they heard we were getting our 1,800 slaves back. They had to have thought that their backup plan, Trump was going to miraculously, somehow, magically put all the black people back out in those fields, on those farms, and they were going to continue to get their work done. Now, that's just my thinking, because you cannot tell me that you as a business owner would get rid of your workforce and not have a backup plan. You are not going to knowingly and willingly walk into a bankruptcy, walk into losing your business, walk into losing your farms that have been in your family for 300 years unless you thought there was a backup plan. And the backup plan was supposed to be the blacks. That's why y'all ran out there and voted against your best interest, because when you heard Donald Trump said they were stealing the blacks' jobs, y'all in your twisted mind thought that the blacks were going to magically appear back in those positions. The blacks were just going to be coming from everywhere to take on those positions. You had to have thought that. Because y'all not going to tell me that in your minds you were okay with losing your livelihoods, that you didn't have a backup plan to come in after the immigrants would be deported. You can't convince me that people who own those farms and worked on those farms, you cannot tell me that you looked out there and saw your workforce and you know what your workforce is made up of. And you purposely went out there and said, yeah, get rid of all of them with no backup plan. You know what it takes to run your farms. You know how many people it takes to run your farms. There is no way you got rid of all of those people and did not expect to have somebody to come in and pick up the slack. Y'all thought y'all were getting slaves back. You had to have thought that. You had to have thought black people were going to be the ones replacing the immigrants and you would not miss a beat. But when those immigrants fled and those fields became empty and those farms became deserted, then y'all want to run around crying, does anybody care about Nebraska? Does anybody care about Nebraska? No. Let's go back. What was your thought process as to when the immigrants go, when they deport them? What was your thought process on who was going to come in and pick up that slack? Because 60% of y'all went out there and voted for Trump. So what was that 60% thinking? What was your plan B for when the immigrants are gone? Who was going to come in, step in, and pick up that workload and get your bottom and keep your bottom line moving? What was that thought process? Who were the replacements for the illegal immigrants that you guys went and voted against? Who were the replacements? You guys thought it was going to be black people. Y'all thought Donald Trump was going to magically make black people appear in y'all farms and on y'all fields to get their work done. Why? I have no idea. Other than he kept saying that they were taking the black jobs. Y'all thought that just because he said that, black people were going to be running down there to them fields? It's absolutely bizarre. You can't convince me y'all put everything, your whole life, y'all whole livelihood, generations of farms being in y'all family. You can't tell me you put that up at risk and did not have a backup plan. You can't tell me y'all purposely destroyed y'all lives and y'all farms without having a backup plan to replace the illegals. It's just not making sense. But racism never has made sense. Guys, these are some really eye-opening times we're dealing with. And another thing I want to touch on before I leave today. President Musk is really working hard to get up under the black people's skin. He's trying to find a button to push to make us hit them streets. Now he wants the government to stop funding, to stop the lease for the Obama Library. And he also wants the United States government to sell our National Black Museum, one of our National Black Museums. I think it was the Montgomery Boys bus. Something to do with that. I think that's what it was. So do you see what they're doing? When the threat to pardon Derek Chauvin did nothing, now they're going for other intricacies that they know black people hold near and dear, which is telling us they are going to keep nitpicking until they can think they can get us out there. No matter what they do not give them what they're looking for. I don't care what they do at this point, but it needs to be seen the extremes they're going to go to that needs to be seen.
Racism is expensive, and corporations and billionaires don't care about you. This is probably breaking news to many who support and applaud mass deportations. Well, the people in Nebraska, the state of Nebraska, is starting to find out how expensive both of those things are, how expensive racism is, and how much corporations and the billionaires don't care about the working class, minorities, poor people, black people, and other non-billionaires. Well, here we go. So I hear Nebraska is on the brink of bankruptcy, although it seems that they have found a little band-aid to put on their self-inflicted gashing wound by choosing and supporting mass deportations, which hurts their farms because it takes away the migrant workers who, instead of waiting for ICE agents to go and round them up and jam-pack them into some of those private prisons like Core Civic, and continue to enrich the billionaires while they lose while the farmers lose their workers, the migrants decided to self-deport to places where they can be and be okay, and not be in communities of people who applaud and support mass deportations. So I guess those migrants were taking people's jobs. Where are those people? Come and take the jobs. They're there. The jobs are available. Why are these states? Why is Nebraska potentially going bankrupt? Why are so much of America's farming country going belly up? Yeah, racism is expensive, and like they say, F around, find out. But I hope this is a lesson to everybody that is in support of and applaud mass deportations and mass incarceration. People who, in a haste to get rid of the people they do not like or to hurt people they don't like, end up hurting themselves. With racism and xenophobia and all of these other things that were part of this past election. By the way, I'm not, although MAGA is super excited about these mass deportations, the corporate Democrats weren't too far away from them either. They were busy chasing MAGA to the right, especially on the issue of immigration. So I'm not gonna act like I didn't see it, or that it didn't happen, or that the Democratic Party wasn't campaigning on potentially doing harm to migrants and immigrants either. And at the end of the day, there was also another choice other than the corporate Democrats or MAGA, and there was the Green Party. Most people probably did not pay attention to it, but if you look at their platform, it actually is in favor of the working class, is in favor of minorities, is in favor of the majority of America, to where you could see their platform is not in service of the billionaires, unlike the two major parties, the duopoly. So all that to say, though, when you make choices and you make choices that hurt people, and at the same time you depend on those people, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face. And at this time, let me just ask Nebraska and everybody, because I know, I recognize everybody in America is going to be affected by farming issues. However, everybody that supports all of this bigotry, all of the mass deportations, mass incarceration, racism, racist policies, and all of that, and who are being affected now, let me just ask you to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps.
Sometimes when I see people doing certain things, performing some actions, I wonder whether their minds are working properly. Talking about these palm-colored farmers who voted for him. They knew that this man was promising mass deportations of immigrants. And also, they knew that most of their workers are immigrants. 71% guys are immigrants, illegal immigrants. And without thinking, they went ahead and voted for the man who is going to deport the people who are working in their farms. Now, what were they thinking? Who were they thinking that are gonna replace those immigrants who've been working in their farms? Because they've been hearing Trump talking about immigrants taking black jobs. They thought, okay, after getting rid of these immigrants, black folks who don't know their worth, they're gonna come and apply for these low-paying jobs. That's what they thought. But come on, in 2025, most of black folks are now educated, very educated actually. They're doctors, managers. They are having high positions in the corporate world. Now, how would you expect my brothers and sisters to wake up early in the morning, 4 a.m. guys, under the hot sun? You know how hot the sun is during summer? Only earning $11 per hour, guys. Hey, I bet even if you can raise the pay from $11 per hour to $20 per hour, many of my brothers and sisters from FBA won't do that. They're gonna tell me in the comment section. They won't earn $20 under that harsh conditions. Farmers, the immigrants are being deported. The government subsidies that we've been pending on were stopped. Situation is not good for you guys. In fact, Nebraska farmers are gonna go bankrupt very soon. I always tell people, my viewers, that every action has consequences. I did physics, guys. There is the third law of Newton that says every action force has its equal and opposite reaction force. Every action that we've performed has its consequences. Yeah, it has its consequences. Now you guys are gonna suffer. You're gonna lose your farms to JD Vance company. So this is so funny, guys. So the man you supported is now owning a company that is gonna buy your farms. He's the man you supported, and it's gonna benefit from your struggles. Next time when you're going to vote, please note this. Don't vote out of your emotions. Don't vote just because this guy look like me, I'm gonna vote for him. No, don't do that. Vote by using your logic. Look at the candidate you're gonna support. Ask yourself, how is he going to help me to elevate in my life, in my businesses? Is he really against my interests? Or is gonna help me to develop both in business-wise and in my personal life? I hope this time you guys have learned a lesson. And many of my FBA brothers and sisters are now laughing at you guys. Yeah, they're laughing at you because they warned you. Yeah, they warned you before voting for him. Now, see, you're seeing what they've been telling you. So, that was it for today, guys. Make sure you like the video. Tell me what you guys think about this video down there in the comment section. And also, if you have not yet subscribed, make sure you smash on that subscribe button so that we can keep growing this community. Mr. TA signing off. Ciao.